fitness, nutrition, and eSports, do they go together? That's what we're going to talk about and break down today on the Game Time Guru. So,
what time is it? Game time! Woo!
If you're sick of the mainstream sports outlets, well, so was I. So I started my own show. I'm Shane Larson, and this is the Game Time Guru. It's different than other talk shows. I'm providing a panoramic view on sports so you can see them through a different lens. So buckle up and let's go. Yes, sir. What's up, everybody? Shane Larson here, your host of the Game Time Guru podcast. We're on to episode 108. Glad to have you with me, so thank you so much for joining us. Today's episode is going to be phenomenal. Yes, we're talking about eSports, but we're also talking about training and weightlifting and nutrition. We're bringing on an eSports trainer, and if you haven't heard of that before, well, that's why you're listening to my show, because we're delivering a panoramic view on sports and helping you see them through a different lens by bringing on all these different personalities in the sports world. So we've got Jake Middleton joining the show today to talk about his role as an eSports trainer and how exercise and nutrition helps you in competitive gaming. So we're going to learn about his journey, and it's his business that he's taken to the next level. And in regards to business, guys, like, I love talking to people. We talked to Matt Mounier last week, Ian Dixon a couple weeks back, and now we're talking to Jake Middleton. Like, everybody who's in the sports world and then going into business, it's awesome to see them use this as like an entrepreneurial journey. Like, they use it as leverage. They use it as a tool to help them in their business life. I think it's awesome. And I'm kind of doing the same thing with my podcast. You guys know that. That's the whole point of being an on-air personality. I do this to build my brand on top of my full-time job. So one way that I can, build awareness is by building out some sales funnels and whatnot. And one of the things I do for my full-time job is I'm a project coordinator at my job at ClickFunnels. They're an internet marketing company, software company to help entrepreneurs. So if you haven't heard of ClickFunnels yet, I'm going to send a link down here. But one of the specific things that I'm in charge of is called the One Funnel Away Challenge. And that is where we take you literally by the hand for 30 days, and we teach you how to build a sales funnel, teach you how to create an offer, teach you how to, start publishing, the importance of publishing, the importance of offers, and then building a sales funnel and driving traffic to that sales funnel. And it shows you how a sales funnel is important for your business. So I have a lot of friends that are in multi-level marketing, like network marketing companies, and they do that. I have other friends who are starting other things. They like to do real estate, other like hobbies that they put together. Sales funnels work for every single one of those, and it's phenomenal. I've seen a lot of things. So if you guys are interested in that, I'm going to put my link down here if you guys want to check out the One Funnel Away Challenge. Super awesome. I'm using a lot of those things that I'm learning through the One Funnel Away Challenge for this podcast. So check that out. Now, people always ask me, how can I give back to you, Shane? How can I give back to you on your podcast? Like, I love listening to your show. How can I give back? And before we even get started with this interview, I just got to tell you guys, I've said it before, just leave me a review. A review is so amazing, and any podcaster out there who either produces their own podcast or has listened to other podcasts understands the importance of a review. So, like, unfortunately, in this world that we live in, especially in the media consumption, us consumers, I should say, we tend to do this. Like, we'll go past a podcast and we'll just skim through it. We'll skim right past it if it doesn't have enough reviews because it doesn't look credible. Because unfortunately, perception is reality to some people. And I know dang well that I have more than 41 listeners to my podcast. Like, the statistics show me that. I have my podcast hosting software that I use, and it shows me who's listening, where they're listening from. It doesn't show me your names, obviously, but it shows me where you're listening from, and it shows me the devices that are being listened, what kinds. It shows me the cities, all that stuff. I get to see how many listeners are tuning in for my podcast. And so I know it's far more than 41 listeners, but that's all the reviews I have. And so what I like to let you guys know is, like, even these podcasts that I listen to that have, less than 10 reviews or less than 20 reviews and less than 100 reviews, there's some great content out there. And I know there's more than 10 people listening to those shows. It's just a matter of leaving a review. And the problem is us consumers sometimes will listen to a podcast, but we won't take the time to actually leave a review when it actually takes 5 to 10 seconds to do so. So if you guys could, please leave me a review. It helps me out so much. If you're listening on an iPhone or an iPad, it's literally on the podcast app. You're listening to this episode right now. Scroll down just a little ways. Like, go to the main page of my podcast, scroll down, and there's a place to leave a review. Even if it's negative, man, I'll take it. But I would like to look at your feedback, and I can feature some of your guys' reviews here on the show. So appreciate that if you guys could do that. I want you guys to tune in for this interview with Jake Middleton. It's super awesome, super interesting. I am flabbergasted. Every week I'm taken back by how amazing the guests are on this show. I just love it. I'm so grateful for all the guests that have joined me and have been willing to share their stories and use this as a platform for their stuff. So I'm grateful to have this opportunity to speak with you guys and Jake Middleton, and I hope you guys enjoy it. What's up, everybody? Welcome out to the Game Time Guru podcast. As you guys heard in the introduction, I've got Jake Middleton on the line. He's an eSports trainer, something that's going to be amazing. I said it before in the intro. This is the way that we, set up the show, is to deliver a panoramic view on sports. I think Jake's going to do exactly that. So, Jake, thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join me here on the Game Time Guru podcast.
Thank you, Shane. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk more about these topics and hopefully bring some more awareness to people who may not know about these things.
For sure, man. And on Jake's LinkedIn page, it says his mission is to bridge the gap between fitness and esports, helping players improve their performance and health while supporting a healthy esports community. So, Jake, you mentioned you have a background in fitness and you have a background in esports. I want to tap into the fitness realm first. So can you tell us a little bit about your background in fitness, please?
Yeah, so I've been training for about 2 to 3 years. I got my undergraduate degree in exercise science. That was in spring 2016. And so I really started dabbling in training while I was in college there. Have worked at a few different gyms. And then while in college, that was kind of when I started kind of getting the idea of merging esports and fitness and seeing that it was kind of an important thing for the space. And so started kind of training with players in my local as well as online too.
For sure, man. And did you have a background in gaming, or was it just like a hobby or anything, or did you just decide, hey, like you found an opportunity to like bridge the two?
Yeah, so I've been a gamer my entire life. I've owned pretty much every gaming console. I first got into esports technically back in 2006 with competitive Halo 2, and then from there, like when I learned that you could pretty much make money playing video games, I was instantly hooked. So I started competing in some titles, and I played sports as well, so I kind of tried to manage doing both. And from there, pretty much it was basically the original idea was this app that would kind of help gamers, more casual, general gamers, basically get more movement and exercise. But from there, I was kind of looking at the esports and seeing that none of this was going on with fitness and sports performance. And of course, this was inevitably going to be super important down the road. So from there, I did my own research study on exercise programming and esports performance with some really positive results. And so that's kind of really how I got into it. And so from there, I did my first business project and started working with players and teams.
That's so awesome, man. Congrats on that, man. It's awesome. It's cool to see that you're doing that. Now, Jake, you said you had a background in traditional sports as well as gaming. So it sounds like you had a mixture of both. And I've had a couple people on the show that have done the same thing. They're athletes and they use gaming as like a hobby, and they can actually find the correlation between the two and how they both actually help. And what I want to talk about is like here, like in traditional sports, we understand like lifting weights and, training specifically for that sport is important. You got to put in the weightlifting and you got to put in the training and all the blood, sweat, and tears, that whole shebang to be better. And that's why we have athletic training centers here in our valley, like for all the athletes to train specifically for their sports. Now, I want you to kind of expand upon your research that you did, what you found out about how training helps you, and like what did you find out specifically about training helping in the esports realm? That just seems so interesting to me.
Yeah, so for me, especially back in college, I was starting to dabble into like research on exercise, its benefits and things. The biggest thing that I was just amazed about was how exercise not only improved your body, but it improved your brain, your mind as well. Research now shows that exercise grows new neurons in specific regions of the brain. It grows new blood vessels, improves cognitive performance for people of all ages. And so to me, it just like clicked. That's pretty much what esports athlete is. It's a mental game. So it makes sense, a healthy body, healthy mind. It's kind of where it comes from for, these players. And so I really dabble into like their exercise, making sure that they're getting enough movement throughout the day, their nutrition. So are they eating a healthy diet on a regular basis? But most importantly, what are they eating before competition, during competition, afterwards? Supporting recovery, because research actually shows too that the demands of competitive gaming, you think from a layman's perspective, you look at them, they're just, pushing buttons and, not really doing a whole lot, but physiologically, there's actually a lot going on. During intense competition, their heart rates can exceed 160 to 180 beats per minute. They're not even moving. And so those are huge demands. So if they're not actually training in a professional manner, it's one of the reasons why you see a lot of injuries and burnout and underperformance as well. So that's a huge issue to definitely work on. But the other one is their sleep too. sleep coaching is another part of what I do. A lot of them either have kind of bad sleep schedule set up due to the nature of esports. So trying to help them with that. But of course, trying to reduce injuries is a very prevalent thing right now. So really just kind of very similar to traditional sports. But since esports is obviously different, it's kind of like tweaking those things, the science that you learn from the traditional space to the esports training.
For sure, man. It's just crazy because it's not so surprising to me now that you bring that up, but it was just weird to hear, like, the heart rate, the toll that it takes on your body, your heart rate, like, going, during the competitive gaming scene. Like, it's just crazy because you never would have thought of that, but now it's not so surprising. Just a couple weeks ago, like a week and a half ago, I headed down to Salt Lake City for a playoff basketball game. All we were doing was driving. It's me and two other buddies, and what happened, though, is we drive 5 hours, watch a basketball game, and we were kind of burnt out just because of our emotions and stuff during the game, and then we got very little sleep, and then we drove right back to Boise. And I'll tell you right now, I was so physically sick when I got home that I literally threw up, and so it was like my body just couldn't handle that kind of thing anymore. We weren't even doing anything strenuous, so I can kind of see how, like, going through a competitive gaming tournament or something would be hard on the body. It really can be. Now, one other thing I wanted to bring up, Jake, is performance-enhancing drugs. I brought this up a long time ago on an esports mini-series that I did on the show, and now with esports being so popular, gaming's getting bigger and bigger, and all these universities are allowing, players to come in there and get a scholarship to play games. They have to start abiding by the NCAA rules. It's the same as all the other varsity programs do. And one of the things was, I watched a documentary on this, was Adderall and these other performance enhancers in the esports world. It's pretty prevalent. But I'm wondering, like, what you might be able to do. Like, do you feel like your approach to this can essentially help them take a natural route to enhancing their performance? Or, is that going to be a way to kind of cushion that as drug testing becomes more and more popular in the esports world?
Yeah, that's definitely what I try to do with all this as well. I mean, a healthy approach is going to give you, the same benefits, if not more, especially in the long term. Adderall and things like that can help you in the short term, but there are a lot of health concerns that go with those when it comes to, like, addiction, and overuse. So really, obviously, there's not a whole lot of regulation, but in some leagues, and they do ban that. So I think it's a very tricky issue, of course, because of course, what if a player has a prescription, for Adderall? Can they use it? Do they allow them to use it, versus other players who don't have the prescription? So there are issues with that, but for me, it's definitely trying to educate these players that, that is something that you don't want to do, because long-term, that's not going to help you. Maybe short-term at a competition it will, but long-term, as long as you're, having a healthy lifestyle around gaming, you're going to see the same benefits.
For sure. And Jake, where can we find you? Like, where do you provide this service? Do you have a website? Like, where can we find you so that we can make sure that we're, helping you promote this service? And, like, who would be your target audience?
Yeah, so you can find me at esportstrainer.gg. That's my personal brand and business. For the work that I'm doing, as of now, I've recently moved to San Francisco, and so I've been doing some remote-based work with players and teams. But the main goal is to actually work in person with players and teams, which is something that I did in Kansas City. That's where I'm from. But now I'm moving to LA in June to work with actually more pro players and teams. But when it comes to, like, the other aspects, like, I've been doing consulting for some high school and college curriculums around these topics. My course, which is actually free right now, basically teaches you about the basics of sleep, nutrition, and exercise in esports. Really just trying to focus on also growing the research too, as there's not a lot right now. So I'm collaborating with other researchers to help kind of grow the field. Those are kind of the main things. Next step for me, though, is training in LA with teams and players. Then I want to produce more content, more education, as there's still a very limited amount of resources out there for, necessarily not the pro level, but at the amateur level where you have the bigger pool of players.
Have you ever thought about doing a podcast to supplement your business model?
Yes, I have. So that's actually something I want to do. I just don't see myself being able to do it soon, but hopefully down the road, once I start creating more content, I am going to look to definitely do that. Because I have a big network with other professionals in the space. There are other people doing this as well, trainers, physical therapists, sports psychologists. So bringing them on too would be great to kind of get more of that information out there to people who are not aware of it.
For sure. And if you do start that podcast, Jake, just let me know, because I can get you in connection with some people that would love to join you and contribute. So I've got connections here, so I'd love to help out in any way possible. So Now, I checked out the website before the show, so the listeners, you already know what the website is. I'm posting the link below. Make sure you check it out as well. But you mentioned in there there's a course. Can you talk a little bit about this free course that you provide?
Yeah, so if you go to the webpage, the course is called eSports Fit. It's kind of this new program I'm working on, whereas eSports Fit is like this healthy lifestyle philosophy around gaming to improve performance and longevity. Whether you're a professional or a college player looking to become a pro, or a high school player who's looking to get a college scholarship, or just a player who wants to take their game to the next level, these things outside the game can significantly impact that. So the course pretty much goes over the very basic science of sleep, nutrition, and exercise, and then how that impacts your esports performance, but also applications that you can apply to your training to ultimately help you reach whatever your goal might be.
For sure, man. And I love what you're doing, Jake. I think everything that you're about is awesome because as a former athlete myself, I understand the importance of getting reps in the gym. I understand the importance of getting, into the weight room, training, getting my exercise, also keeping my diet on track. It's just all important, and it's cool to see that you are truly bridging that gap. That's what your mission is, and you have a plan to execute that. It's awesome. Now, Jake, I want to ask you something now about gaming. What is your favorite game? Do you still game or pretty consistently, or do you kind of just dabble a little bit here and there? I just want to know what your favorite game is.
Yeah, I play a few different esports like Rocket League, Fortnite, PUBG, pretty much all the major ones, but I mostly play Halo, the Master Chief Collection, specifically Halo 3. That was the game, it was back in high school, that I just played so much. It's just crazy. I just love the game so much. Like, I can never get enough of it. Like, I could just play it for hours on end. Of course, can't do that anymore. But that's probably my favorite game, the one that I play the most. I actually still even compete in some, like, fun little local tournaments as well. So
you went to some big tournaments. Is there any one that you went to that sticks out to you the most? What was the best tournament, biggest tournament, whatever it may be, that was like the most memorable for you?
The biggest one for me would be probably MLG Dallas 2012. It was a big tournament for Halo 4. Halo 4 was actually just being released like 7 days early just for that tournament. So it was really cool it was actually my first MLG tournament too, and so it was really cool to kind of go there and compete against a lot of these people that, I kind of grew up watching, and being able to interact with them. It was a great time.
That's so awesome, man. Thank you so much for sharing about your whole story about your background and the tournaments you've been to, and then what you're doing for your business model. I can't wait for you to get this thing completely going and see this thing grow. It's got major potential, so it's awesome what you're doing. You took an idea and you ran with it, and you're executing a plan, and I see it going really far. So what else you got for us, Jake, before we sign off?
So we talked about the training and nutrition, but I will say this. So when it comes to actually playing the game, that's the general thing now, right? In order to get better and play at your best, you have to play the game. And the idea definitely at the professional level is I need to play the game as much as I can, which is why you see a lot of players playing some insane hours, like 8 to 12 hours per day, 6 to 7 days per week. But definitely that is starting to change, whereas research is starting to show, you need to be kind of balancing that out, working on more deliberate practice, practicing 3 hours, taking a break, and then doing that again. So just wanted to throw that out there too, because, that's definitely a super important topic that you'll hear more about here in the future.
For sure, for sure. Thanks so much, Jake. I appreciate you, shedding the light on this and, educating everybody on what you're doing and the importance of it. And I hope you guys learned something from this. If you want to share this with your friends and family, feel free to do so. And make sure to check out what Jake's got going on. Check out his website. I'll put the link below. And give him some support and keep an eye on what he's got going on, because it's going to be growing immensely in the near future. So you guys know the drill. We'll talk to you next week. Guys, thanks so much for listening to another episode of my show. Now, if you could go and do me a favor, head over to iTunes, give me 5 stars, and leave me a review, it would be greatly appreciated. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your support.